Let's move on to high performance liquid chromatography, or HPLC. So the concept is similar to GC, except that the mobile phase is a liquid in the liquid phase, and you use a very thin column. It's normally packed in a very thin column, the stationary phase that is, and because of that, you need to introduce you need to operate the HPLC at higher pressure. So you have an HPLC pump to pump the mobile phase into the injector, and the sample is also introduced. Either you can do it manually, but most HPLCs these days have auto samplers, and then it flows through your HPLC for detection and signal processing. So the HPLC that I'm really familiar with is the ones from Waters. I'm not advertising them, but this is just what I've used for many times, like 100 times. So if you open this compartment, you will see a sample carousel for auto sampling, and then these are what a typical HPLC column look like. These bottles are just your solvent containers, or your mobile phase containers, and solvents for washing the system. So in an HPLC system, sometimes you use what's called a guard column to protect your HPLC column from any contaminants, because HPLC columns are actually very expensive. So whereas the guard column relatively are cheaper. So if you use this as like your filter, then the entire technique, it becomes more cost efficient. So here's an example of an HPLC chromatogram. The mobile phase is usually a mixture of water or methanol, or you can use acetonitrile or trifluoroacetic acid, or more commonly known as TFA. And then of course the detection is in the UV. Depending on your detector, you can detect it at the UV-Vis region. So likewise, you can use HPLC for quantifying your analytes based on calibration curves. So common detectors are your UV-Vis detector, photodiode arrays, and mass spectrometer. HPLC can be used for checking product purity during pharmaceutical development, detection of illegal drugs in urine, confirming results of synthesis reactions for research. Very specific application is the analysis of vitamin D in plasma for clinical studies, determination of fluoxetine in serum, and determination of PAH in wastewater. So generally speaking, if your solution is less volatile, HPLC is the way to go. So like salts, inorganics, and more complicated structures, HPLC is usually the way to go, not GC. So just another application is analysis of CBD, which is pretty popular these days. And here's just an example of a Cbd profile, where you want to measure the amount of CBD in your isolate. You want to make sure that your THC levels are either non-detect or within acceptable limits. And of course, we know that CBD is the cousin of THC, which is found in marijuana.